Beautiful. Thank you so much, Matilda. Welcome. As I said, my name is Mica Reagan. I too have been in the movement for about 20 years. My first opportunity to serve survivors was when I was active duty military, and I was supporting my single soldiers that were experiencing domestic violence in their home. And if any of you have experience with active duty anything, none of the military branches have a really great response to domestic violence. It's go talk to the chaplain, regardless of your religious affiliation. And there's not a lot that leadership support in military can do for soldiers that are experiencing. When I transitioned out of the military, I went into early childhood education and development, became an interim director of a Head Start program where I taught children 3 to 5 years old. And it was amazing. I loved it. I'm going to go back to it when I retire from the movement. But a part of being a Head Start director is you also do parenting groups with parents. So my first year, I'm coming into education and I'm seeing behaviors in my classroom from children that I didn't recognize, right? Like, why are some of our children acting out? Why are they having meltdowns or easy transitions? Why are they having a hard time making peer relationships? Even at 3 to 5 years old, children can have the ability to make peer relationships, but I would have students that were struggling with this. So I was able to educate myself and work with what we call the family navigator. And you can compare the family navigator and Head Start to like a case manager. They support families with other needs that they need while their children are in the classroom learning. So part of my parenting group was having conversations around healthy and safe relationships. And I felt really limited once again with the support that I could provide to survivors and the children in my classroom, because all that I could do in Head Start was refer to the family navigator or get CYFD involved, right? So when I left education, I went back to school because I told I didn't have the right piece of paper to go and do direct service advocacy. Well, I said, bet, let me go get it. So I did. I went back to school, I got the right piece of paper, and then I joined Valencia Shelter Services in Valencia County as a direct service advocate for those who have experienced intimate partner violence and sexual assault. Within the first year, I became the MDT coordinator. All of us know what an MDT is in here. I bet all of us are like partners on the MDT in here, right? So I became the MDT coordinator for Valencia County and stepped more into crimes against children work. When I transitioned out of that role, I went into high fidelity wraparound. If you've heard of it, it's pretty incredible. But it's direct service working with children, our most at risk children, and keeping them in their home and their community. Is anyone in here familiar with the term residential treatment or foster treatment care? Anybody in here? Yes, some say I see, right? So the role that I had then was to educate folks on the behaviors that they were seeing from children and educate team members that the behaviors that they're seeing are indicative of trauma. The behaviors that they're seeing are survival adaptation. So rather than pathologizing our children and saying they have RAD or they have some type of antisocial behavior, we work to identify what was the unmet need underneath the behavior so those children can stay in their homes and communities. I've been with the coalition for about 3 years now, and I specialize in coordinated community response. And coordinated community response, a big fancy word. It's a term born in the 80s. It's not new. But what it says is that every single system partner, so each one of you in here, we have a role in working together when we respond to intimate partner violence or children who have experienced and been exposed to intimate partner violence. And that's why I'm here before you today, is because we're going to be talking about how do we work together? How do we uncover what's underneath the behavior that children are showing us? And then how do we as a team work to create a safety plan to meet that need? By the end of our time together today, we're going to understand how intimate partner violence, trauma, and development shape behavior. We're going to be able to explore developmentally appropriate safety planning with children. I am not going to give y'all a big old lecture on what development is, but we are going to explore development so we can at least all have a baseline of what does that mean. We're going to apply healing-centered approaches to boundaries, discipline, and accountability. Because I hear this most frequently when I'm doing technical assistance with programs across the state around I'm working with the family and the non-offending caregiver, not my favorite term, I'd rather use safe caregiver. The safe caregiver is having a hard time holding boundaries and discipline, so we wanted to make sure that we touch base on that a bit today. And then lastly, we're going to practice strategies that support regulation, safety, and connection during conflict and escalation. As Matilda says, we are interactive trainers. Y'all are going to get up out of your seats today. We're going to be calling on all of y'all. Full transparency, I do not get weirded out with silence. If I call out to the crowd and nobody answers, I am the trainer that will stand here and look at y'all until somebody feels weird enough to give me a response. So just be aware, I'm not going to call on folks. I'm not that type. If nobody says anything, I'm going to be like, you, tell me the answer. You're on the spot. I won't do that, but I will stand here and look at y'all till somebody's ready, okay? So let's get into it. I said it's going to be interactive, and we're going to start right now. I'm going to give you the rules of the game. But this is going to require you to get up and leave your seat. We're gonna build our developmental baseline. We want to make sure that all of us understand what children can do in their developmental stage. So as we see on the screen, we have a 6-year-old comforting a crying sibling. We want to know, is that an age-appropriate behavior, right? Do 6-year-olds comfort their crying siblings? Do we say, Mica, I need more context. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's age appropriate or not. And then lastly, in the very back of the room, age inappropriate, right? 6-year-olds shouldn't be comforting their crying sibling. So what we're going to do right now is everybody get up, push your chairs in, because you're going to move your body to where you think this 6-year-old belongs. Is comforting a crying sibling age-appropriate behavior? You need more information, or absolutely not, Mica, that's age inappropriate. That's parentification. Ooh, I see y'all. I see y'all. All right, that's okay. There you go, girl. We're doing our all homework right now. We're on the uncertain. All right, so all the from here over is all uncertain? Okay. A 10-year-old regularly cooking dinner for the family. Age appropriate, not sure, absolutely parentification. Yeah, a 10-year-old regularly cooking dinner for the family. Y'all on the age appropriate? All right. I like that face that you're making. You're like, awesome. No, should I stand in between? Context matters. You're absolutely right. Oh, we got a lot of age inappropriates back there. All right, we see y'all. A 14-year-old translating for a parent at appointments. Age inappropriate, unsure, age appropriate. Oh, the room is shifting. We almost got a 50-50 split. Oh. Wow. Oh, we have one folks. Okay, guys. I see you back there. That's okay. I see you. That's an adult, right? I can see how with that type of context, we can get to that's age inappropriate. You're right. Context matters. We're going to come back to that. A 5-year-old managing their own bedtime routine. Oh, I heard a lot of sighs on that one. A 5-year-old managing their own bedtime routine. You're staying with age appropriate? I'm with you. Ooh. I like the back and forth over here, y'all. I like how you're thinking it through. The critical thinking is coming out. Oh, we got a lot of folks that say absolutely not. All right. A 12-year-old helping occasionally with younger siblings. Yeah. Oh. Well, this is an interesting split. Interesting split. Okay. A 9-year-old worrying about paying bills. See the whole room shift. Oh, we've got some ambiguous thinkers about a 9-year-old worried about paying bills. I'm excited when we come back to this one. All right, team. A 7-year-old worries about whether their parent is safe when they leave the house. You gonna stay there? especially with your career, right? Context matters, absolutely. Oh, we had a big shift. What happened back here? What kind of conversation did I miss? I see a whole bunch of folks saying, I don't know, Mica. I can't be sure. A 15-year-old is the primary emotional support for a parent. A 15-year-old is the primary emotional support for a parent. We got questions, right? All right, folks, thank you all for participating. Let's return to our seats and unpack some of these behaviors. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate y'all getting up and walking around. What's that? Oh, you'll capture the responses. So yeah, if you want to leave that guy there, thank you so much. There we go. She did that. All right, folks, so when we had this first one, a 6-year-old comforting a crying sibling, we had, what's that, 5, 6 folks? You swear I can read these numbers. That's embarrassing. You embarrass me in front of this. That is 6. 5 after, 1 after is a 6. All right, so there were 6 of us that said, I'm really not sure. I need more context. So for those of us that said a 6-year-old comforting a crying sibling is absolutely age inappropriate, would one of you mind sharing with us, why did we feel that way? Why do we think that that's inappropriate? And there's not a wrong answer. We're not going for perfection here. We're just going to learn. Who thought this was age inappropriate? Because I saw we had a good group of folks back there. Nobody? Nobody thought it was age inappropriate? Why would it be age appropriate? Absolutely, right? And 6-year-olds, yeah, it's absolutely age appropriate that a 6-year-old would want to say, oh, I see my siblings upset. Maybe my caregiver's cooking a meal or unavailable. I'm going to go get that passy, or I'm going to get that blanket, that comfort item or something, right? What would make this age inappropriate? Absolutely. 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 So what I'm hearing from the both of you is the context, right? Is the child choosing to comfort their sibling, or do they have to comfort their sibling? And that makes the difference. So developmentally, absolutely, 6-year-olds can, and it is okay, and it could even be expected, right? Like, hey, I want to see you jump into the family. But when it becomes their job, when they don't have a say-so about it, when they're the only one comforting the sibling, that's when we move out of age appropriate and developmentally appropriate and move into what we call parentified behaviors, right? And you use the word perfectly. You said parent, right? Like they start acting like a parent. So when children start taking on adult responsibilities, that's when we move out of developmentally appropriate into parentification. A 10-year-old regularly cooking dinner for the family. We again had 6 folks that were like, I'm not sure. So somebody share with me, what made you uncertain about, is this age appropriate or not? What is the context of why they're cooking for the family? Do they love to cook? Is it something that brings the kid happiness? Absolutely. Yeah, right? And then the word regularly, did that stick out to anyone? Right? That was tell us more, Angela. What was that? Why was that your problem? Right. Yeah. It's one thing to be a helper. It's another thing to have the responsibility of the job, the chore, the whatever. Absolutely right. A 14-year-old translating for a parent at appointments. I heard lots of side conversations here, right? And I think you all have already picked up on the theme of context. But someone share with me about what either made you feel ambivalent or made you feel like that's age inappropriate.
inappropriate in general. Because it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter the type of appointment. It's the parent's appointment, then the doctors need to have somebody to translate because because the parent could be going in there for a regular checkup, or it could be going in there to being told that they have cancer, or it could be even going in there for like, hey, I'm trying to get a restraining order against my husband. Either way,
Right.
it's all inappropriate. It doesn't matter.
Right, all adult responsibility stuff. Absolutely. I've got her hand, and I'm gonna come right back to you. Did I see your hand raised or did I? Okay, yeah, sorry.
I was just thinking it depends on what they're translating, like, because I get a lot of kids in my school that need that will translate for their parents.
Of course.
I mean, if it's discipline, I'm not going to have that kid.
It wouldn't be appropriate.
If it's suicidal thoughts, like I'm not going to have another sibling talk to the parent, so it depends. But if it's just like basic stuff, attendance or something like that.
Yeah, right. And then I saw your hand up. What were you thinking?
So I could talk about this because I was a 14-year-old translating for.
So you've got lived experience here.
Yeah.
All right.
So growing up,
Mhm.
I think it's different in this day because growing up there wasn't people to translate, so it was kind of like forced. Now there is more availability, but back then there wasn't. So it was kind of like you kind of had to, and it's I think it's age appropriate.
Okay.
If it depends on the 14-year-old, you can do right, you can do wrong, and it depends on the 14-year-old. And if a parent knows the child, they're gonna know if they're lying or not.
All right. I appreciate the perspective there. And what I'm hearing from you is context matters, right? Are we ordering a hamburger or translating something? We're getting a new vehicle, something that way, like we're translating things or interpreting things that aren't adult responsibility items. Absolutely, I would agree. That is age appropriate, right? Like you have the ability, you can do this, you can support your family. I see you, brother. I'm going to come right over there to you. What do you? Well, before I finish my thought, what are you thinking?
So that goes to like I hear that we all talk to it like well there's so many things that we could do right, but what about if you're in Palma, New Mexico that has nothing and you need to have an adult conversation and you have no way chat GPT doesn't work, your app don't work, you have no way to contact out and you need to tell this lady that her kid is dead down the road. Is that a conversation that you're going to let a 14-year-old have, or are you going to just let the lady say, hey, your kid's dead? And she goes, hey, someone sent me saying, what? You know, and you're like, well, 4-letter F.
Absolutely.
So there are times that you're going to have to do it. That's a hard one to say. Is it age appropriate? When do we say it's not age appropriate to tell somebody that you have to communicate?
So really what we would do is that context, right? Is it a child's responsibility to inform a parent of their lost sibling? Never. It's not a 14-year-old's responsibility to go to medical appointments. It's not a 14-year-old's responsibility to translate or interpret financial documents, right? And I'm hearing you, right? Like I'm a New Mexican through and through. I understand the rurality. I understand the limitations, right? But it's adult responsibility to figure out how do we get another adult to carry this and not put it on a child. And that's tough. And it's tough here in our state because we do have a culture that says, well, the children speak the language, they have a relationship with the parent, we're going to utilize that child. So I do understand that it's going to bring up stuff for folks. It's like, well, what about this, right? But at the end of the day, developmentally appropriate, it should never be the responsibility of a child to do any adult burden, regardless of what the burden is. I think I saw a hand.
We had a case where we had the grandparents did not speak English and the kids did, and they would translate for us, but the kids would tell their own version. And, yes, I go to school every day, and no, we're not doing any drugs. The CYFB says there's nothing wrong with that and all this stuff.
Sure.
We'd have to bring in somebody else. So, I mean, the 14-year-old's going to translate the best they can, and they may filter it through, but the grandparents were like, well, our grandkids are just telling us this. We have to bring in somebody else because of that. But the child is going to translate their own version no matter what it is because that's just our experience.
And that's a paid position, right? People who do translation and interpreted services, they're certified to do that work. We have over 23 different dialects of just Spanish in our state, right? So to assume that we're going to pull somebody else or pull a kid in and have that come, now we're saying 14 years old, figure out the dialect and get it translated correctly. So again, I know this is tough. And some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today is going to be tough. It's going to bring up some of that critical thinking in us of like, but what about this? If it's adult responsibility, then it's always an adult responsibility, regardless if we have a 14-year-old that's able to translate or interpret or not. So let's talk about this 5-year-old managing their own bedtime routines. I heard a lot of sighs in here. Folks like, yeah, right. So would someone like to share with us, did anyone believe that this was not an age-appropriate behavior? Yes, tell us more.
I feel like they're going into school at that point. You need to start regulating them, not just for you, for school, for themselves.
All right.
Kiddos get better when they're on routine. So when they go to school, their behavior, their reactions, everything's going to go off of that. So they need to start being set on a schedule and need to start following it.
I can see that context, absolutely. I think I saw another, yes. Or was the one on this side? I'm sorry, I saw something and I didn't see which slide. I apologize. All right, go ahead.
I know it's rare in our time, but I was unsure because maybe they manage it well.
Right.
Maybe they just go to bed. I mean, it's not going to be every kid, but
Absolutely, absolutely.
so rarely.
So rarely, but it's developmentally appropriate. A 5-year-old could, if they had a parent, already had a caretaker that role modeled the expect, like we brush our teeth, we put on our pajamas, and we do this thing. A 5-year-old absolutely could developmentally manage their own bedtime, but it changes if it was they were expected to do that. If they had never been role modeled how to do it. If there wasn't a responsible, safe caregiver that could make sure like, hey, you know, you put on your jammies, but they're backwards. Let's flip it around. Or you're trying to take a chocolate to bed and we don't do that before school. So context absolutely matters. Thank you for bringing in like some of those concerning items. But yeah, a 5-year-old could manage their own bedtime. I don't know much of us have a 5-year-old that was able to do that at that time, but if you were, high five, way to go, fam. Let's look at this 12-year-old helping occasionally with younger siblings. What makes this age appropriate and not parentified behavior? Yes. Why?
Because it's not happening all the time, it's just every once in a while, possibly while mom's making dinner, older sibling probably helps out setting the table or getting the
Yeah.
or just during bath time, mom probably has littles. Older sibling is possibly helping them get books for mom to read or like just occasional help.
Absolutely. Occasional, right? It sounds like this child has a choice. Absolutely. I think I saw your hand again.
I'm just going to emphasize the word she said occasional and helping. It's not being the sole person.
Right? They're not that 10-year-old that's cooking dinner every night for the family, right? They're occasionally doing. They're helping, not doing for. Great catch, team. That's exactly what we're hoping to catch out of these items here. What about the 9-year-old worrying about paying bills? Anybody have anything they want to say about that one? Oh, I'm so sorry I missed you. Please, please.
I was just thinking that it could also be a learning thing where you're helping them or they're helping with the younger siblings.
Yes.
That's also a parenting thing. It's like you're teaching them responsibility.
Absolutely, because they're in that preteen stage, right? They're about to go into that adolescence, and then adolescents go into adult. They've got to start building the skills somewhere. So great comment.
It's like if they're here with all these, hey, I'm gonna start sitting, and if they do it at home with parents, or
Right.
they're comfortable, like that's something they start doing.
Absolutely, great point. Yeah, absolutely. So that would fall in line to developmentally and age appropriate. A 7-year-old worries about whether their parent is safe when they leave the house. What were some of our thoughts about this one? It does. I see you back there. Go ahead.
One of my very close friends, whenever we were younger, he was so scared because he found out that the sun was a star and that it could explode. So now he was worried to death about everybody and everyone on Earth.
Thank you for that comment. Because that's different, right? That's scary. At 7, I would be scared too. Like when our plants got blown up. So thank you. Context absolutely matters here. What were your thoughts?
That was the same thing. I mean, are they worried about a clown coming after them? Are they worried about, that somebody's going to punch them, their parents are going to die? Are they worried, realistically?
Yes.
And what if they're worried about everything when the parent leaves the house? Then that's a mental health is something going on with that kid. So how much are they worried? Like, are they like throw up about it, or is it just, hey, I heard that somebody several states away got hurt in a car accident, and I just want to make sure my mom wears a seatbelt.
Of course.
There's so much in that that.
So what I'm hearing from you is impact. What type of impact is it having on that 7-year-old? Are they getting physically ill? Are they missing school? What is the context? I think he had his hand, and I'm going to come right back to you. Go ahead.
I think part of the context has to be is what does that parent do for work? And
Yes.
where are they at? What's going on? Like every one of my kids, even my older kids, are worried when I go to work every day. But
Absolutely.
also in the oil field, you know, these roads suck. There's like,
True.
you know, the 285 is the death highway, right?
Yeah, I mean, you
So-
do have a, yeah, you
so
got that
they
name.
worry is their dad or mom's going to come home at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Yeah, and what you said, that context matters, right? Absolutely. Now, if a child's worried about their parent because we have a DV context going on, then that's different. Or if the impact, and do you mind if I use your experience? Okay, so if the impact on your children were like your children literally could not get on the bus because they're so worried about dad making it to work or getting home, then we would start to wonder about like, okay, well, how do we intervene? Because that's adult responsibility, right? So thank you for allowing me to use that. She had a thought, and then I'm going to come right back to you. Yes, sorry.
It was along the same lines of the context, because they're worried that like stepdad is finally going to find mom when she has to
Yes.
stay. That's
Yeah.
very different. And what is the parent doing to comfort them about that worry that they have?
Right. And does the adult caregiver have the capacity? Absolutely. Your thought.
I think it also has to do same as with the context and how much the parent tells the child, because we were in Albuquerque growing up, and at 7 years old, my elementary school got rated for immigrants.
Mm.
So
That's a realistic fear, and especially right now, right? Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that in too. Right. So there's other environmental things that are going on as well that could be driving some of the worry. But it does come back, which each one of you said was like it is the contact and the impact. What's happening to that child with this worry? It was the highest unsure. Oh wow, team. This one was tough. Lastly, a 15-year-old is the primary emotional support for a parent. Never. Why? Who said that? I heard it and I agree. Why? Tell us why.
They shouldn't have to carry that much responsibility.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Why not? Why shouldn't a 15-year-old take care of their parent? You said like, the responsibility, but like, can I peel that back a little bit more? Whose responsibility is it to take care of an adult? An adult. There we go. Okay, I saw your hand and then I'm going to come over here to you. Did I miss anyone up here? No? Okay, go ahead.
There's a thing called emotional incest, where a lot of times, sometimes either a parent, sometimes like people will like vent to their children about age inappropriate things, like, oh my
Sure.
goodness, this girl said this, and then it puts them into an adult role. Or then like whenever that child leaves, then that adult gets like really upset if that person leaves, because that was their only emotional outlet. And not only that puts so much on not only is that unhealthy for like the parent, but like that's so much on that kid.
It's a lot on a child.
And it's literally called emotional incest.
Absolutely.
It's not that it's actual incest, but that emotional attachment is called that.
Right, it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
Right? That parent has now flipped the roles and now that child is parenting that parent. Absolutely. I think, yes, sorry.
So what I think is really cool about that is that I can also relate to it, because that happened with me and my mom.
Oof.
So because we came to the United States, and it was just her and my dad, but they weren't on the best terms, and I'm the oldest child, so she didn't have anybody, and they're old school, and we didn't know what was emotional support. What's that? Until so she always leaned on me for support, until I started this job now where I'm a peer support at the guidance center. And so I'm learning all these new things at my job, and now I get to teach her.
Planting those seeds.
Yeah, and now I have a 14-year-old that's benefiting from everything that I'm teaching my mother. And she doesn't have to be the 15-year-old that's an emotional support.
Firstly, thank you for being vulnerable in this room full of folks and sharing your lived experience. Thank you. Thank you for connecting the narrative, because as you shared, it wasn't something even you at 15 should have been responsible for, right? So thank you very much for that and for connecting the pieces for us. Thank you for your vulnerability. All right, team. So now we've built our developmental baseline. Maybe if the clicker wants to work. Clicker says she doesn't like me. Okay, no problem. All right. So defining developmental, when we're talking about what is development, we're talking about what are the skills and abilities and emotional capabilities within an age group of children that can be reasonably expected of that child. Now, there's always going to be gray areas, right? There's going to be children that have different behavioral or mental health needs or physical and emotional health needs. But when we're looking at baseline, if we're looking at developmentally appropriate across age spans, Development appropriate just means what can we realistically expect from this young person? What can they do? So what we're gonna do, this really did quit on me. It is me, okay. Thank you. I'm gonna hold on to this though, because I need a tool. Okay, so I'm not gonna go through every item on the screen. Number one, like I said, this is not a training on developmental appropriateness, right? But I do want us to explore some of the things because we're gonna be talking about safety planning today. So instead of me going over every one of these things on the slide and I'm just giving you death by PowerPoint, instead, what I'd like for you to do is take a look at the behaviors that are developmentally appropriate. And I would like for someone to share what of these behaviors here do adults oftentimes misunderstand?
First, can you all see them back there?
Am I in the way? Okay, let me get out the way. So we're looking at our infants and toddlers. They're 0 to 3 years old. Do any of these behaviors here often get, yes, what are we thinking?
The strong attachment to the caregiver, separation anxiety, because then I'll have one parent, every time he leaves me and goes to his dad, he cries and he throws a fit. Something must be wrong with dad. Or vice versa.
Right.
He screams when we leave and there must be something wrong.
Absolutely. And right, and we start making those like assumptions like, oh, there's something wrong with this child. Well, wait a minute. Toddlers have a hard time with separation anxiety, right? They have a hard time going into new spaces because they either have 0 to 3 years of experience going to new places with new people and new things, right? That was a beautiful example. Can we click? Tantrums are often signs of overwhelm and not manipulation. A lot of times when I have these conversations with groups of folks, that's one of the first things that get pulled out. So I was really surprised with all of you. You're like, no, that's normal. A 0 to 3 year old's going to tantrum. That's fine. But a lot of the time they're trying to communicate something. Something in my environment that's happening around me is too much for my system to be able to handle. So I'm going to have a tantrum because I need to communicate to you that I'm not okay. I need my safe caregiver to co-regulate with me and show me that this is safer than it can be. What can they realistically do for safety planning? I've had folks look at me like, Mica, toddlers cannot do safety plan. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. They don't need to be responsible for the safety, but they can participate in designing their plans and being a part of the safety plans. So again, I'm going to give you all a handout. So I don't want y'all to feel like you're going to jot all these things down and try to look at everything on the slide. It's here just for some of our visual learners. For our tactile learners, you're going to get a handout. You'll be able to write all over it. So these things will be there for you. But these children can follow simple routines, right? They can identify their comfort items and allowing them to be a part of the process. We're going to get into why do we do that here in a bit. All right. No, wait. Now we're up to our preschool age children, my favorite group, 3 to 5-year-olds. What of these developmentally appropriate behaviors oftentimes gets misunderstood by adults? What's that?
Testing limits because people think, oh, they're just not listening. No, they want to see what they can do.
Exactly. They want to know, like, okay, if I have to use my walking feet on Monday, is Ms. Mica going to make me use my walking feet on Tuesday? I don't know. Let's find out. So that's very normal. That's a part of the development of the brain is to figure out like, okay, well, is it the same boundary every day? Is it the same expectation every time? So it's very normal that children this age do that. Are there any other of these behaviors here that stick out to anyone else in the room? They're like, oh yeah, adults sometimes will see that behavior and misunderstand it. All right, I haven't got to hear from you yet, bro. What were you saying? You say aggression? All right, tell me more.
I mean, a lot of the times people say aggression can stem from trauma, sexual abuse, stuff like that, but a lot of times kids just get aggressive because they're upset.
They're frustrated. They're overwhelmed, right? Absolutely. And thank you. Because sometimes we want to quickly pathologize or we want to quickly go to, it's got to be the worst thing going on inside of that home or with that child. And instead of saying like, no, that's okay, that's pretty par for the course, right? What are you thinking?
I think it also like goes when they start going to daycare and school at this age. Some
Ooh.
kids are only children, or they've always been home, and now they're going into a setting with all these other kids who may have already been exposed to kids. Yes. So learning to share, to say their emotions, again the routines, things like that, it's a big adjustment for them.
Absolutely. Well said. Absolutely. I think, did I see a hand in the back? No? Did I? Maybe someone's fixing a hair. Okay. So what can they realistically do when we include them in creating safety plans? Oh, last item on that slide is that behavior is oftentimes a communication. Again, so when we slow down and try to figure what are they communicating to us? Maybe it's my first time in a classroom. I never had a teacher before. I never even seen friends. All I got is cousins at home. Who are these folks? I'm frustrated because I want to leave, right? So sometimes we just got to slow down and what are they communicating to us? There we go. All right. So now what can they realistically do? They can identify trusted adults, right? They know like, oh, this is a person that keeps me safe. My caregiver has identified this person as safe, or this is my teacher or my bus driver, et cetera, et cetera. They can learn their first and last name, which can be really important with safety planning, depending on the context of what type of safety we'll be planning for. They can also practice going for help. All right. Yes, we should be in our school age children, our 6 to 11-year-olds. All right, left-hand side of the room, y'all been a little bit quiet. Left-hand side of the room, of this list here, which one do we as adults most often misunderstand or mislabel? Ooh, tell us more.
So I have a very codependent child and another that's very independent.
Oh, okay.
So it was always for me very scary to see my independent child trying to go out there, and I was like, oh, go, leave, come back.
Right, come, yeah, stay with her safe. Absolutely, right? And it was age appropriate. It's normal, right? They're getting ready to go into those preteen years. They're wanting to know how can they trust themselves, right? My caregiver has given me all the amazing tools and I'm ready to launch. I'm ready to go out here and explore on my own. And oftentimes adults do see that, right? Like, oh, they're being defiant. Oh, they don't want to listen to me, right? All right. This is really bothering me. I keep clicking it. So talking back may reflect frustration, autonomy building, or emotional overwhelm. Because again, this is one of the ones I normally get back from folks. It's like, oh, they talk back, they want to be defiant, they know everything. It's like, well, no, not really. It's just their brain is telling them I need to experience more and learn to be able to trust myself. So they're doing exactly what their body is telling them to do. Yes. No, no worries. What they can realistically do, again, they can identify multiple trusted adults, right? These children are 6 to 11 years old. They have had opportunities to be out in these streets and to meet people and have different experiences than our toddlers did, right? They can memorize important phone numbers. And they can practice simple safety plans. So I want to take a little pause right here, okay? Where are places where children today, maybe even right now as we speak, are practicing safety planning? Where does that already happen in nearly every child's life, regardless if they have DV, SA, or any type of crime going on in the home? Yes, what are you thinking? You got it.
I'm gonna say in school, because in school when I was going to school,
Yes.
they teach us different like safety planning stuff, like what to do in case of a fire,
Yes.
what to do in case of a flood, like
Absolutely. Period. Children are involved in their fire drills. We actually have active shooter safety planning in a bunch of our schools up north, but we do it. And these children participate in that, right? The teacher comes out and the class is a part of it. Everyone has a job when there's a fire drill or an active shooter drill, right? Everyone's got a job and they do it frequently. Why do we do drills with children? Why do we do fire drills or active shooter drills or other type of inclement weather, tornado drills? Why do we do that? So if it happens, it's instinct. And then I heard over here, preparedness, right? As human beings, we all have neural pathways in the brain. And as we build more neural pathways based on our experiences, it allows us to be prepared. So we want our children to have a neural pathway so that if there is can you just help me? Okay, right, we want that neural pathway to be accessible to children when they need the plan. Now, when we safety plan with children, should we practice it with them or just make a big long list and hope they remember? We practice, right? We're going to practice with them because, again, we want their safety to be our priority. We want them to know when a moment is getting unsafe. I know the trusted adult that I can go to, the safe space. I know I memorize the phone number that I need to get a hold of. We're not making children responsible for safety, but we're including them in that. And you gave really great examples of how children already do this. Now let's get into our adolescents and teens. We're going to spend the rest of our time after our next activity talking about the teen resistance cycle and how do we support this age group. Thank you. Is it doing her thing? Let's try her. Is it me? Do I have to power? Is it powered on? Is it me? Did I turn it off? I'm gonna let you keep. Thank you. Thank you so much. Maybe try it in a different little, like it was working initially. All right. So looking at our adolescents and teens, which behaviors that come out of this age group of folks give us the most misunderstood, mislabeled? What do you got? Ooh, tell me more about it. Why did we misunderstand that?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those teenagers that tested my parents' boundaries to the.
You were developmentally appropriate? I love it. Tell us more.
I think, I mean, as teenagers, you do stuff to get attention, of course, but also you do it. I mean, I did it to at least get more freedom or to prove my parents wrong sometimes, but
Yeah.
sometimes. But yeah, testing their boundaries was definitely one of the things that I do.
Absolutely. And all teens do. Why though? Why might teens push back and test limits and boundaries? Why might they do that?
They have to learn where they're safe.
They have to learn where they're safe. Tell us more, Angela.
Well, because if you never push that boundary, you don't know who's going to accept that failure or that whatever, who's going to be the safe person that will still love you and still help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did anyone have anything they wanted to add to that? I thought I saw another hand. Did I miss? You, yes, thank you.
Well, I was just going to say the identity exploration. I think a lot of people misunderstand that.
Tell us more.
When I was growing up, I was gay, and a lot of people like to say that when kids know younger, like between 12 and 18, that they were sexually abused as a kid, and that's what caused them to start exploring their identity. I think it's a big misconception that still happens today.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. I mean, we still have, well, I'm not going to say it. We still have camps to try to address that biologically, right? Okay, absolutely. So it is very normal, just exactly what Angela was telling us earlier, right? Teens need to know, are their environments safe? They also need to understand what are the consequences of some of their decisions. They need to be, and consequences, we always assume that it's negative. There's positive consequences of things. They need to learn that as well. I made a really good decision. Yes. Okay, let's try her. Oh, thank you guys. Way to go. Everybody give them a hand clap. Thank you so much. You saved the day. Now I'm going to start talking to it like a remote. You're welcome. Okay. So where was I? I'm so sorry. I lost my train of thought there. Oh, they need to be able to understand that they too can make good choices and be independent. These are the folks, we're going to put them out. Here in America at 18, you're an adult, you're a grown up. You've had all the life experience that you need to be able to get a job, a house, pay bills, get a car, be a productive member of society, right? But if we don't allow teens to do these age appropriate, developmentally appropriate items, then in essence, we're almost setting them up for failure. We're saying, well, you've always got to act right. You can't push back. You can't test limits. You can't ask questions. And then we send them out into the world and we wonder when they have a hard time. Or we wonder when they're having big behaviors that they can't manage on their own and they're losing their job. They're losing their apartments. They're getting into fights and now they're an adult. So it's a big difference than when they would have done it when they were 6 to 11. Aha. What can these folks realistically do, right? The older that they get, they've got the more lived experience. There's more that they can do to be a part of their own safety planning, right? They can identify the risks and the warning signs. They know the homes that they live in and the communities that they come from. They can practice digital safety strategies. This is new to the training. I'm an old lady and I just really put in digital safety strategies because I'm old. When I was in this age right here, we had the old like car phone. Now, did we have one in our house? No. But that's what was around. We didn't have digital items. That wasn't a concern that my generation's caretakers had to worry about was something going to happen. But a lot of time when we're working with our adolescents, we have to consider the digital safety items because offenders and other unsafe characters have access to our children more than they ever did. So we've set our developmental baseline, right? I think we're all on the same page of like, it takes the impact, the context, the exposure, how much adult support. So we've kind of identified like it goes to parentification when that child doesn't have a choice, when it's frequent and there's improper adult support, right? So we've identified what that looks like. So let's spend a moment talking about like, what is safety planning? I am in a room full of expert safety planners. So instead of me defining for you, I would like for you to share what is safety planning? What does that even mean? If I weren't from the movement and I'd never heard of this term before other than a fire drill, how would you describe safety planning to me? Well, I heard some murmurs. Did I miss it? You got it back there? Go ahead. Tell us, what is it? Oh, drawing out a map. Okay, I like it. I may be stealing that. Thank you very much. Anyone else, would you add or change anything when describing what safety planning is to someone?
It's a plan for what to do when, shit hits the fan and you need GTFO.
Period. There we go, right? Like, here's your plan. I don't think I put GTFO in here.
You can't use that.
I think I need to. Matter of fact, I'm going to go change it right now. I'm going to get on it. Safety planning is a collaborative process that helps identify strategies, people, places, and supports that can increase safety and reduce harm. Essentially what the two of you said. Absolutely. Okay, so we all agree. Yes.
Increase safety and reduce harm. It doesn't mean you're safe. It doesn't mean nothing's going to happen. It's just we're trying to keep you safer in this moment.
Well said. Did we all hear what Angela had to add? It was a really great point that she added, right? Is that a safety plan is to increase safety. It does not guarantee or make safety, but it's a way to get, I'm sorry, I don't want to botch what you said. You said it really beautiful. What's that last part that you said? I'm going to botch it.
To keep you safer.
To keep you safer.
In these moments. Yeah,
Beautiful.
we can't guarantee that it's going to keep you safe, but we want to do what we can to keep you safer in these moments.
Beautifully said, right? And that's important because we don't ever make promises to children or the survivors that we get to support, regardless of our role. We can't make a promise that a plan is going to make you safe or keep you safe, but we can say that we have a plan in place will increase safety. So thank you, Angela. I appreciate you bringing that into the conversation. Children are often aware of their environments long before an adult ever has a conversation with them, right? They're very attuned, they're very aware. So this is why safety planning matters for children, is because they are already aware of what's happening. Here are just some of the items. We don't need to go through this. You all are experts. You know this.
And they've been safety planning on their own.
Absolutely.
Right? Up to a certain point. And so really fostering and nurturing the strengths that they've been displaying on how they've been keeping themselves safe up until you start your interaction and relationship with them. And to help increase safety and keep them safer, right? Instead of introducing brand new concepts that might be really foreign and something they can't quite align with, and then they're trying a different strategy, which could ultimately put them in a more unsafe situation. So really nurturing those things they've already been doing because they've been doing them, whether they realize it or not.
Beautiful point. Thank you, Matilda. I appreciate you.
Sure.
Again, why include children? I think we've kind of touched on this a bit. I'm not going to stay too long on this slide, but because again, they're aware of what's happening in their home. They know their safe strategies. They know the cues when things are getting unsafe in their home or their environment or their community. So let's kind of talk about what it looks like to have children participate in their safety planning versus doing it for them, right? We want to, just like what Matilda was saying, they've been doing it on their own a lot. They've already been doing it. Adaptations to the family unit has already happened. When we did our age-appropriate activity earlier and we were identifying, wow, what's the context? Is there DV in the home? Is there something happening? All of those behaviors that we saw were adaptations for safety and survival, right? It also builds their confidence. I can make good decisions. I can be trusted to keep myself safe. I can be trusted to follow a plan. I know what helps me stay safe. It also increases that predictability. A lot of times, and we're going to go through the context of intimate partner violence, where we're going to go into why does some of that context matter and how does it change the parental relationship and the behavior of children, right? But when you're living in chaos and unpredictable moments, having a safety plan allows that child to say, I know I have something that I can turn to. When something gets tough, scary, or unsafe, I have a plan. And it also supports coping. We're going to talk about regulation and co-regulation a little bit further into the training. But supporting coping is knowing that I have a plan. How many of us in here feel better when we know something's going to happen, but we have a plan? We have a plan B. There's like a majority of us say, I'd like to have a second follow-up something. I'm the only one? Well, y'all, I'm a plan B gal. Okay, thank you, Zelma. All right, well, we got 2 plan B people in here. I need to have a backup plan if my plan A doesn't work. Children are exactly the same. They're no different from us. They want to have those same reassurances that we do. When we exclude children, we're making decisions for them, right? It can be confusing because they weren't a part of the process. So now I'm going to give you a plan. Matilda, just do this thing. You weren't a part of it. You don't know what it is. You just got to read it, and hopefully you understand what I thought you should do in the moment when things become unsafe. I could give you all a template for a safety plan. I could, right? I thought about that today. I'm like, oh, that might be helpful to leave everyone with the template. But then again, that kind of takes away the creativity of your roles, right? We have a diverse group of folks in here. I heard we've got folks from the department, we've got law enforcement, we've got victim advocates, we've got case managers in here, right? So each of your role, how you work and oriented to serve that child and family is going to be different. So instead of giving you a template, which there are a plethora you can get from NNEDV, the National Network to End Domestic Violence, socialworkertoolkit.org has amazing templates for working with children and educating them on safety plans. But instead, I just want to take a moment to emphasize what are the elements that need to be included in any trauma-informed safety plan for a child, right? We got to ensure that that emotional safety is in there, right? What age-appropriate, developmentally appropriate coping skill could that child utilize? What comfort items might be helpful, right? We're working with children. And then the feelings identification is incredibly important because that's where we're going to fill out like those cues, right? What does your body tell you when you know that things are getting unsafe? We also want to make sure that there's that relational safety, right? That people and places that they can trust. And we want to ensure physical safety, right? So it goes beyond, emergency contacts and exits, right? But they need to know physically, what do I do? What do I do with my body when it becomes unsafe? What's the expectation for me? How do I increase my safety emotionally, relationally with folks and in our body? So we're going to transition into an activity now. Now, when I first got here, we had a different number of folks. So y'all bear with me here. I need to do a quick count of how many folks do we have in the room because we're going to pair off into groups of 4, and I want to make sure nobody gets left out strange. Oh, let me tell you count. Okay. Perfect. So what we're going to do is we're all going to break out into groups of 4. I encourage you to maybe break out with some folks that you don't know yet. Build your network. Get with a stranger. But we're all going to get into groups of 4. Matilda's going to pass out. I'm giving y'all the cheat sheet. It's got all of the what's developmentally appropriate, what's age appropriate, what can children do in safety planning. And in this activity here, I'm going to have you guys create a safety plan, right? This is a basic, this is a 101, but what you are going to do is you're going to get one of the categories of development. So you're either going to get, nobody's going to work on toddlers or infants because a lot of creating safety plans for toddlers and infants relies on adult capacity and adult preparedness. So we're going to work with our preschool, our school age, our teen, and our adolescents. So each group of 4 is going to get one of our children to work with. And you're going to read their narrative. I'll pick on Marcus, okay? So I'll give you an example so you can be a little bit more prepared. Marcus is 11 years old. If you want to pass those out, you can go ahead and start. Marcus often helps care for younger siblings and tries to solve problems when adults seem stressed. He frequently asks, what should I do if something happens? Marcus wants to help and take pride in being responsible. An advocate is helping Marcus and his caregiver create a safety plan after the family experienced domestic violence. What you'll do in your group of 4 is you're going to read Marcus's story, and then you're going to have discussions amongst yourselves. What concerns might this child have? What could this child realistically participate in? What emotional, relational, and physical safety supports might be included in this plan? And what remains the adult responsibility? What should never, ever Marcus have to worry about at 11 years old? Any questions about the activity before we break out? All right. We'll give each other I'll give you about 5 to 7 minutes to be able to review and discuss. I'll come check in with folks. If we need more time, we'll take more time. And then at the end, we'll share out what did we learn and what were some of the items that we came up for each of our children. So if all of you would move, please, into groups of 4, we'll start passing out the scenarios. All right, we got a group of 4. All right, y'all are gonna work with Wyatt. Wyatt is 16. We got a group of 4 here? All right. Y'all are gonna serve Jordan. And Jordan is preschool age. Oh, perfect. This is gonna line perfect for y'all. All right, enjoy.
Oh, there's 2 groups of 5.
Is there 2 groups of 5? My bad if there's 2 groups of 5. Sorry, y'all.
Now we're gonna have a 3. 3s and 4s.
All right. That'll work. I'll do that. No worries. And then I'm going to have y'all work with Faith. She's a school age child. Here we are, a team. All right, we got a group of 4 here. Fantastic. I'm going to have y'all work with Marcus. I feel like y'all really going to serve Marcus real well. Thank you, team. Got our group of 4 here. All right, y'all are going to serve Wyatt. He is 16 years old. If I could get Wyatt out of the pack. Maybe you can't. He's already giving me resistance. There you go, team. Thank you very much. All right, we ready over here? All right, folks. Y'all will be working with Faith. She is a school-age child. Good luck, team. Thank you. All right, folks, we ready? All right, team, I'm gonna have y'all work with Marcus. Okay, I trust y'all. Trust y'all to serve Marcus. Our 11-year-old boy. Thank you so much.
She's itty bitty tiny, right? She's a runner. And she's a senior in high school. This dude won't leave her alone. He's like, bro, you need to leave.
I'm gonna let y'all serve Jordan. He's age 4. Good luck, team. Thank you. Oh wait, did you get a Faith and not a Jordan? Yep, I dropped the Faith, and you're supposed to get a Jordan. I apologize. Okay, this Jordan is really 4. There we go. Thank you. Just here. All right, perfect. All right, folks, y'all gonna be serving Faith. She's 8. Good luck. Oh, think of it.
Okay.
Yeah. No, none of
That's
these.
just for us.
Yeah, later when we start like the language bank afterward, absolutely.
Okay. Let's see how they stick.
Yeah, where are we at for time? It's almost 2 already? We've been doing this for an hour.
Yeah, well, we started a little early. And
That's
then
what I said. We've been
even-
doing for an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Even with intros and yeah. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's about, yes. Yeah. Okay, so they're going to do, we'll bring them back at 52 after, or we'll start checking in at 52 after and see how it's going.
Yeah, I was sending
Exactly. That's why I was like, we'll start the 5 minutes now. And I think we have time. I think we'll even have time for folks to, because really we just got the resistance cycle, IPV context, and then the last activity. Gosh, do you think I cut too much? No, it's not going to go the whole time.
I don't know that anyone would be sad if they got a portion of their data.
I don't think so either. That's a good point. That's a good point. Thank you, dude.
Sure.
Okay, who am I missing? Who am I? Preteen. There we go.
There are 2 teenagers, right?
A preteen and a teen. A school age and a preschool.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next one, there's 2 teenagers. Or am I just-
1, just Alex. But there's 4 roles for the activity. Now let's go back and see, did I squirrel or did I cover all the shin? We talked about that. You did that. We talked about that.
We're going to dig into the behaviors more, right?
Yeah, so after this, we'll debrief. We'll go on break.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted these too. Yep, and then we go into behaviors. Okay, roll strain and parentification. We did that, so I can cut that. Consistent. Y rolls blur, then you'll come in. Nice. Okay, I think it's pacing out well. opportunity to review the discussion questions, or do any of us need any more time? We're all ready? All right, folks. So now we're going to have a conversation about it. So all of us that worked with Jordan, the 4-year-old, raise your hand. Which tables had Jordan? We have one in the back. I think we should at least have 2 tables of Jordan. There's only one Jordan. Aha! 2 Jordans. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go over the discussion questions, and I'm just going to go back and forth between the tables, so that way you each have an opportunity to share what you discussed, but you don't have to share the entire discussion. So I'm going to start with the table in the middle first, and then I'm going to bop over to the table on the left. So under your discussion, or actually, would one of y'all want to read Jordan's story so y'all don't have to listen to me talk for a moment? Will you please educate the class on Jordan?
Yes, I will. Jordan is 4 years old. Jordan and their caregiver recently moved to a new apartment after leaving a person causing harm. When adults raise their voices, Jordan hides under tables or behind furniture. Jordan frequently asks, "Are we safe?" Jordan becomes upset when separated from trusted adults and often carries a stuffed animal for comfort. An advocate is helping Jordan's caregiver think about ways Jordan can feel safer at home, preschool, and in the community.
Beautiful. So I'll start with you all with one, and then we'll move over. So the first item is, what concerns might Jordan have? What did y'all identify?
So the biggest one is, so we decided Jordan was a she.
Okay, we can gender Jordan.
So she is always asking, "Are we safe?" So safety is always an issue, and wondering if the person that was causing harm is going to find them.
Valid.
What's another one? The loud voices, wherever she's at. Not meaning she always has to hide from them. What else?
I think trust, because it says trusted adults, but that it doesn't say how many trusted adults, and I'm guessing the advocate and caregiver are probably the only
Ones in that pile.
Yeah.
Absolutely, right? Way to think outside of the box. What would be some of those things that Jordan are concerned of? All right, our table over here. What could this child realistically participate in? What could Jordan do as a part of their safety planning?
Identify trusted adults.
Period. Absolutely. And then like our table here just identified maybe 2 that might be in the room with the child, right? What else could they realistically do? And a reminder for the team, Jordan's 4.
Knowing the safe places to go.
Yes, absolutely.
Practicing how to ask for help.
Where might Jordan ask? In this, I know the scenarios are not huge, and I didn't want to give you all 5-page scenarios, right? That was an intention, right? But like out of what we got here, who might would you identify as a person that they could reach out to for help?
Well, if there's a family member that lives in town.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That if there's grandma, that's 2 houses down, or it depends on.
A trusted, safe adult 2 houses down, right?
Right.
Absolutely. Well
There's a
done.
neighbor that if something's going on at the house and it's a big mess, they know to run across the street because Mary's aware of the situation, and you go talk to Mary.
Right, and we've identified that Mary's a safe place for you to be when things at home are unsafe. Well done, thank you. All right, I'm gonna come back to this table here. What emotional, relational, or physical safety supports might be included for a plan for Jordan?
Coloring. Coloring can help. That's what I do with some of my kids on my caseload. Coloring or journaling.
So kind of helping with that regulation?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think breathing exercises too. I think any age can learn breathing exercises to help calm down.
Right? Because we're co-regulating with them, we're teaching them, right? Absolutely. What about some of those relational? I know we kind of covered relational safety with our table here, but any other emotional safety items that we could do with or for Jordan? With Jordan?
Emotional? I don't know if it's emotional, but it does say that she carries a stuffed animal.
Right.
So I was thinking maybe she could get multiple in case one gets misplaced. And I used to work at Head Start too. We had a corner that was a safe place, and maybe she could get one in multiple places where she has trusted adults. And how it says that she hides under tables or behind places, she could have a designated area for herself where she can feel her most safe, where she doesn't have to hide under or behind places.
Absolutely. And that was a really great way to capture emotional, relational, and physical safety, right? Where is a place, something that's comforting to you, and a place that you can identify with safe, trusted adults around it. So really great way to capture all three. That was a great example. All right, our table on the left. What remains the adult responsibility in this scenario?
Restraining orders to work, to school, to anywhere Jordan might be. In the purse, in the car, lots of copies of restraining orders stashed everywhere.
So I'm hearing the adult responsibility is to create the container of safety.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
Keep unsafe people out of your lives.
That absolutely right. That should not be on Jordan, the 4-year-old, to identify those folks and keep them at bay, right?
Get counseling for herself and Jordan.
Get some supports from community. I'm hearing it. Okay, yeah.
And I would say don't be in a hurry to get in an adult relationship with a romantic person for a while.
Yeah, that definitely should not be the responsibility of a 4-year-old. I absolutely agree with you, sister. I agree.
Mom should be not looking tomorrow for the next loser she's going to move into the house to be causing more havoc.
We're putting a lot of blame on this caregiver for somebody who harmed them. We're going to come back to that. I see where you're at, but we're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to that because I see where you're at.
Over and over, you know, like the same,
Of course.
The same repeating stories. It's not fair to kids.
You're right, because they're experiencing.
It happens.
Right, thank you. And thank you for bringing in that lived experience, because we do take a lot, I'm going to come right back to you, but in this work, we do take on a lot of moral injury, right? Where we either see children, survivors, for whatever reason, seeing them in situations that are unsafe. And we know that our law enforcement partners especially take on a lot of that moral injury, right? We're responding to a scene, we get it safe, we put in community supports, we coordinate with our other allies in the movement to keep this family safe, and maybe I'm responding another 3, 5, 7 days later, right? So I do appreciate you bringing in the moral injury, because that's real. We all navigate that regardless of our role in this room. We all take that on. So thank you for bringing it into the conversation.
And I understand that when the adult has been injured, they need emotional support, they need adult support, they need to not revolve their entire life around their child, but they need to make sure that their child is safe first.
Sure, and we need folks who cause harm to stop harming survivors and their children, right? It's a both and, I agree. I saw your hand up.
So I have something to add to the adult responsibility. I think one of the biggest responsibilities for an adult would be the reassurance. The reassurance as a parent is that they're safe now and she's going to take care of the child, and that nothing's going to happen, and she's going to do everything in her power to make sure that the child is safe, and reassure her that she's safe in her preschool. It says that she's in preschool.
Right.
Also, a parent's responsibility is to have any person that's in her life be aware of her triggers. So if the raised voices are her trigger, that means that she needs to talk to her teachers at the preschool and make sure that they're not raising their voices at her at school, because then if she's at preschool, mom is not there to see if they're raising their voices at her. So she needs to have people in her corner when mom's not there.
Absolutely. Number 2, I don't think schools teachers should be raising their voices at children on period. And if they are, come talk to me. But I think the point that you bring into the case is that the adult responsibility is to make others aware. And then how do we create a safety plan in the classroom? Raised voices in a daycare or a Head Start, even a kindergarten class, it's going to happen, right? They're children. It's going to get loud. And that doesn't mean that we all have to be quiet for Jordan. It just means that when things start getting excited in the room and in the environment, what safety plan can Jordan have? Can they get that comfort toy? Can they go to that safe, quiet space, right? So you bring in a really great point of like, hey, these are my children's needs, and I need to make the others that are responsible for their caregiving aware of these needs. So thank you. That was a really great point. I appreciate it. All right, thank you for being the first group to go. Jordan team, way to go. I like how y'all that's right. Yeah, let's celebrate each other. All right, folks, so now we're going to move into Faith. Who got to work with Faith? We have this table here and this table here? All right, perfect. Who would like to read Faith's story out to the class?
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Faith is 8 years old. Faith and her
her caregiver are adjusting after experiencing domestic violence. Faith often worries about family members and asks questions such as, what happens if someone gets hurt? At school, Faith frequently checks in with adults and struggles to focus and worried about people she cares about. A school counselor and caregiver are working together to help Faith identify ways to feel safer and more supported at home and at school.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead. Y'all read the narrative. We'll go ahead and start on this side. What concerns might Faith have?
Safety, for one. And what's going to happen to her if her caregiver is severely hurt? Where does she go?
Absolutely right. So she's concerned not only about her safety, but her caregiver safety, and then what? Absolutely. All right. This table here, y'all were, yes. Okay. So what could Faith realistically participate in creating a plan with her counselor and her caregiver?
We could start with defining what safety means to her.
Yes.
Because, I mean, it says that she's at the point where she's just developing the desire for independence, and now they have this worry and anxiety. What does worry and anxiety look to Faith? And what is going to help ease that for this particular child, because safety doesn't look the same for everybody.
Absolutely. And way to include Faith, right? Like, what does that mean for you? We can say all of us can define safety in 50 different ways, I bet. So I really appreciate that you brought in Faith and like, what does that mean? How does that, or what I heard from you is like, how does that also in alignment with some of your cues, right? Anything else that you wanted to add to that? I don't want to move on and not give you the chance. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
I mean, we talked about some of the basic stuff of like knowing her phone number and knowing her mom's first and last, or her caregiver's name, because a lot of times at that age they're like, I don't know, it's mom.
It's mom.
You know?
Maybe with the last name.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well done. Thank you guys. All right, I'm coming back over here. What emotional, relational, and physical safety supports might be included?
So for sure, it's bringing, I'm pretty sure, like, we were even talking about this, that she must have like a lot of mistrust in the parent, the caregiver that was there, because she's oh hey, you were supposed to take care of this, and then y'all are getting beat up. But now she needs to realize, so one thing that could help is, hey, showing that mom's on board with the school, with counselors, with things like that, like saying, hey, there's rules and regulations that help you stay safe, like, oh, we're not gonna let dad come pick you up from school, and it also could help her establish trust, like, okay, these are the people I need to, that these are my safe people, and it can help her recognize, if I can't calm myself down, if I can't cope, I know who to call, whether if I can't go to my mom because I don't fully trust her yet, I could go ahead and go to a counselor, I could go to a teacher, I could go to an advocate, I could call them up and ask them for help.
Beautiful. I heard all three. I heard emotional safety, because we know the people, or relational safety, because I know the places and people I need to go to. I heard emotional safety of like, I heard coping coming in there. What are the things that I can access, and realistically, Faith would be able to access some of those coping skills on their own. And then I heard the physical safety around like, how do we create a plan that only safe adults have access to you at school? So well done. Thank you very much, team. And lastly, what remains the adult responsibility for Faith?
Point blank, keeping the unsafe person away.
Absolutely.
And just the pure principle of safety. If we were involved, like our CAC was involved in this, Ellie is my advocate, and she will often go with the kids to teach them grounding. So like she wrote down the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding, the box breathing, the belly breathing. We have what is the funny one? What is the funny one, Rosie, that you do and you make me laugh? The dragon breathing.
Can we get an example of the dragon? It's been a long time since I've seen it. Can we see it? Yeah!
But the adult that's there, it would be their responsibility to show them that, and to show them in that moment, you're feeling overwhelmed, you have all of these emotions, people that you're checking in with, they're not there right now, but you have this trusted adult that has shown you how to dragon breathe, how to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and like I said, if we were involved in this, that would be my advocate coming and showing them, or being the outside person that's not necessarily directly affected by what's going on.
Absolutely.
Because I do think in situations like this, we do need an outside person that's not individually affected to be able to teach the kid and the caregiver ways that they can bring themselves back to what baseline looks like for them.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Yeah, a safe, trusted adult from community that can see the big picture,
Yes.
right? Because oftentimes our caregivers in this situation are just as inundated as the children, and that's how we get to places of parentified behaviors or some of these dysregulated behaviors that we see in other environments. So thank you for bringing that into the conversation, y'all. All right, folks, let's go ahead and move into Marcus, our 11-year-old. Who had Marcus? I think Marcus is towards the back of the room. And we got Marcus over here. Do we have a second Marcus? Aha, second Marcus back here. All right, who would like to remind everyone about Marcus's story? Who wants to read Marcus's story?
I'll read it.
Thank you, please.
Marcus is 11 years old. Marcus often helps care for younger siblings and tries to solve problems when adults seem stressed. He frequently asks, "What should I do if something happens?" Marcus wants to help and takes pride in being responsible. An advocate is helping Marcus and his caregiver create a safety plan after the family experienced domestic violence.
Thank you. So what concerns might Marcus have?
Safety for his siblings.
Thank you for identifying like what safety concern exactly. So safety for his siblings. Anything else?
We set fear of the unknown.
Ooh, tell us more about that.
Well, it says there that he's always asking, what should I do if something happens?
Yeah.
So he's afraid of what's going to happen, or if something really bad happens, how is he supposed to react, or who is he supposed to contact?
Absolutely. So thank you for catching on that. Absolutely. So you really peeled back that layer of safety. All right, my table here. What could Marcus realistically participate in?
Getting himself and his siblings out or to safety.
Absolutely. He's
For
11.
example, like he could help his siblings lock themselves into a room, or go to a neighbor's house, or the other thing that we said is him calling 911 or another adult that could help the situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to circle back around. I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask it. So if part of the safety plan for Marcus and his siblings were to, and you gave a really great example that does happen in safety planning, right? We're going to go to a locked space. Is it Marcus's responsibility to keep the siblings safe?
No.
No. It's just responsibility of saying this is how we're going to increase safety in this moment, and an adult is still responsible for the safety of all the children. Thank you very much. Like I said, I knew the answer was no, but I just wanted to get it out there for all of us to hear. Thank you. Very well done, team. Well done. What emotional, relational, and physical safety supports might be included in Marcus's plan?
Emotional support, we thought maybe therapy or some sort of counseling for Marcus. Relational, we thought maybe a mentor would be a good person for him to confide in and have a support system. And physical safety, we thought of him knowing his emergency contacts. We also discussed a mode of communication. A lot of children that age have access to tablets or phones. Even a cell phone that has no service can dial out to 911 for emergencies. An exit strategy from the home, and a home strategy in case you cannot exit the home.
Smart.
If there's a safe closet, if there's a safe room with a door that locks, those are all, good physical safety strategies.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I appreciate that when you all were speaking about the emotional safety around what does that aftercare look like, which would absolutely be that therapist, that counselor, those type of things. So what about in the moment? How would we be able to support Marcus with identifying his feelings and what's getting killed? Oh, I saw the point. Did you have something you want to add? So you got something in there, tell us.
What if like teaching how to regulate himself?
Absolutely, right? What would something that an 11-year-old be able to do to regulate themselves in the moment? Absolutely. And then that aftercare that you spoke about would be helpful, right? Or maybe it's a both and, learning during the aftercare and being able to apply it in the unsafe moments. So well done, table. Thank you so much. And then lastly, what remains the adult responsibility team? What should Marcus never take on?
Like we had mentioned previously, like the whole safety is not his responsibility, it's the mother's or the parents' responsibility to
Absolutely.
keep them overall in that safety.
Absolutely, right, Jordan? Jordan. Marcus should never be responsible, my goodness, for their sibling safety. Absolutely, well said. Thank you all. And then we'll move into our final scenario with Wyatt, our teenager. Where's our Wyatt tables? I think here, and is there a second Wyatt table? Ha, back here. Thank you, guys. All right, who wants to read Wyatt's story? Thank you.
Wyatt is 16 years old. Wyatt values independence and often wants more input into decisions that affect daily life. When adults make decisions without consulting him, the response is often, "No one ever asks what I think." Wyatt has a strong group of friends and spends significant time away from home. Wyatt and his caregiver are working with an advocate to create a safety plan that supports both safety and independence.
All right, team. So what might Wyatt be concerned about?
I think it's more communication and having his input into what his daily life is going to be like what he can do, what's going on throughout the day.
What can be relied upon and consistent? Well done, absolutely. All right, and our table in the back. What could Wyatt realistically do as a part of his plan? Yes. Right, he can almost even take the lead with the advocate, the caregiver, whoever it is, right? Absolutely. All right, front table. What emotional, relational, and physical safety supports might be included in Wyatt's plan?
His friends are a big strong point in it, so making sure like he's able to have contact with them, as well as speaking to guardians about what's going on. But it seems like those are his people. That's who he's with the most.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that you bring in the peer group. That's really important to teens and adolescents, right? Is having that connection to their peer group and being able to get that support. So, would we ever make the friends, the teenage friends, responsible for Wyatt's safety, though? No. Right? Absolutely, 100%. Thank you for humoring me with letting me ask that question. All right, folks, and then what remains the adult responsibility, even though Wyatt is 16 and can lead a safety plan, what should still remain with the adults? Okay, I heard the assessing data. I'm so sorry. I did not hear the first part. I'm sorry. What was that?
Supervision.
Oh, supervision. Absolutely, right? That really should not be on Wyatt's plate even if he is 16. Absolutely, folks. So now, team, I want to thank you all for participating. I hope you all got to meet somebody maybe that you haven't worked with yet or get to apply some of these concepts in a different way. We want to give you all a little bit of a brain break because we got a lot of time together today and we learned a lot in this first 2 hours together. There we go. So why don't we go ahead and take 10 minutes to get a restroom break, some sun on our face, and come back at 2:30.
I didn't have to wear it today, so I'm so excited.
Got a response to all of these.